Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome on in.
All right, yeah, I got to work on my
Morning.
background.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Seeing a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new names, a lot of familiar names. Good to see. We'll get started here once the participant list stops racking up as fast here.
And hi, everybody. I'm trying to get my video on. I don't know why it doesn't seem to be working correctly. So bear with me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. You might want to get on this too. This is about no.
All right, Mikhail, what do you think? What's the waiting room looking like?
It's looking like we're slowing down, so we might be good to get started.
Okay, very good. We will go ahead and get started. So thanks again for joining everybody for our CEJA Workforce Program Cycle 2 NOFO Preview Kickoff call. I'm Nate Keener. I'm the CEJA Central Regional Administrator in the Office of Employment and Training. So I've been working with the Central Region CEJA Workforce Grantees over the last couple of years. And we are excited to hit the road and share some of the updates we're making in anticipation of what we're calling the Cycle 2 CEJA grants. So we plan to release notice of funding opportunities for 3 of our CEJA workforce programs here in the coming weeks. So we want to give folks a heads up that those NOFOs are coming and give folks a preview of some of the changes being made to the curriculum, the program design, and the NOFOs to give prospective grantees a chance to start thinking about what their proposals may look like as we head into the fall. Our in-person sessions will build on the information delivered here today and will provide additional detail about what will be required as part of the NOFO process and give you an opportunity to network with potential partners in this growing CEJA ecosystem. We've got about a half an hour worth of presentation, and then we'll go ahead and take folks' questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat in the meantime, and then when we get to the end, if you want to come off mute and ask questions, we should be able to facilitate that as well. So the agenda you see on the screen here is what we plan to discuss today. I'll get us through the introduction here and then pass it off to my colleague Michelle Cerruti, who will talk about some of the changes to the Cycle 2 program design and some of the changes to the CEJA curriculum framework. And then my other colleague Larry Dawson will close us out with timeline, additional resources, and next steps. So, Mikhail, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. So a quick recap of some of what happened in the first cycle of CEJA grants that ran roughly from mid to late 2024 and will go through June 30th of 2027. It took us five rounds of NOFOs during that first cycle, but we did eventually end up funding 16 Energy Transition Navigator grantees and 16 Workforce Hub grantees, and that's one grantee in each of the 14 locations named by the legislation, plus an extra hub and an extra navigator in each of the 2 Chicago areas. And we'll have a map here in a few minutes that will show you these locations. We awarded 3 Climate Works grants, one in the north, one in the central region, and one in the southern region. We funded 4 returning residence grants in Vienna, Mount Sterling, Decatur, and Kewaunee, and those are still getting off the ground now. We published a curriculum framework. We published program manuals for all the programs. We developed a CEJA reporting system, which we're still working to refine, as our current grantees can attest, and continuing to publish program policies, the newest of which was published earlier this week. Next slide, please. So the purposes of today's call and the in-person workshops that start next week, the Climate Works, we are teed up to talk about the upcoming NOFO releases for 3 programs: the Clean Jobs Workforce Network Program, otherwise known as the Workforce Hubs, the Energy Transition Navigator Program, and the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. For the Workforce Hubs and ET Navigator programs, we plan to make 2 awards in the Chicago South and Chicago West/Southwest regions, and 1 award each in the other named regions in the legislation. For the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, again, we'll award 1 grantee in the North, 1 in the Central, and 1 in the Southern region. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'll just provide a very brief description of each of the programs we plan to procure under the next NOFO release. The first program is the Energy Transition Navigator Program. The main goal of this program is to increase awareness of and participation in the CEJA programs. So they provide recruitment, engagement, and intake throughout communities in Illinois to help support the CEJA workforce programs. This program is delivered throughout the state in the 14 named regions and the surrounding areas, and is delivered by community-based providers and any partners that they have. Community-based providers are nonprofit organizations who have a history of working with low-wage or low-skill workers or individuals from economically disadvantaged communities. For the ET Navigator program, community-based providers do not include community colleges and other units of local governments. So I've highlighted that, bolded that word provider, because that is kind of the distinguishing feature of eligible applicants for this program. Next slide, please. The second program is the Clean Jobs Workforce Network Program. It's often referred to as the Workforce Hubs or just the Clean Jobs Hubs. The goal of this program is to prepare people for good-paying, entry-level clean energy jobs by providing clean jobs training, utilizing a standard clean jobs curriculum framework. This program is delivered at the 14 named hub locations throughout the state. The workforce hubs include barrier reduction funding for wraparound services and other support services that will be provided through the program. It's delivered by community-based organizations and partners. So contrasted with the previous slide where we talked about community-based providers, for this program, the eligible applicants are community-based organizations. And the main distinguishing feature there is that community-based organizations do include community colleges and units of local government for the Workforce Hubs program. So for the Hubs program, community-based organizations and community colleges and local units of government are eligible to apply. Next slide, please. The third workforce program is the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. The goal of this program is to prepare people for pre-apprenticeship programs in construction and the building trades with a focus on clean energy. It utilizes a construction training curriculum with a clean energy focus and is delivered in 3 centers across the state. The program has funding for training, case management, barrier reduction, and transition services, and it is delivered by community-based organizations and partners. Next slide. And now to the maps. So here is where all of these programs are currently being delivered and where they will be delivered in the next funding cycle. So the Workforce Hub program is delivered in the 14 regional workforce sites as well as the surrounding areas. So those are the ones represented by the orange dots on the map. And I do apologize. I'm realizing that Kankakee is not represented with a dot here on this map. So just know that we do also include Kankakee. So the hub and navigator programs are in the locations with the orange dots. The Climate Works program is being delivered at the regions shaded in with the different colors. So the northern region for the Climate Works program is the blue shaded region. The central region for the Climate Works program is yellow, and then the southern region for Climate Works is in white. Next slide, please. All right, and now we want to talk about some of the changes we're planning to these programs and the application process. Now that we have two-plus years of experience administering these programs, for cycle 2, we want to incorporate some of our own lessons learned, incorporate feedback we're hearing from existing grantees, and of course, incorporate feedback that we're hearing from your employer partners, as well as CBO stakeholders and the general public as well. So to talk about that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Cerruti, Southern Regional Administrator in the Office of Employment and Training.
Hi, everybody, and I apologize. I cannot get my video to work, so that's something I'll be working on today. So, as Nate mentioned, we're going to highlight some of the differences, some of the changes that will be made. And first off is the Energy Transition Navigator. So, the Navigator will be the single point of entry. For the program. So they will be responsible for conducting the outreach and recruitment, the pre-screening, which includes the intake, the assessments, the pre-assessment, and orientation. That's there'll be a brief orientation completed. They will be responsible for referring participants to the appropriate hub as well as other programs. And they also will be responsible for their data entry and data management as always. And again, the navigators are going to be the front door. So there won't be that conflict anymore of who's doing the outreach. It will definitely be in the navigator's responsibility. And we are also another little change is that navigators will be required to conduct the academic pre-assessment. So the assessments for reading and math levels to be able to understand the curriculum. And that's the sole reason for these assessments is that curriculums are written at a certain grade level, and we need to make sure the participants will be able to understand that. Provide CEJA orientation to cover various programs, potential career pathways, and the kind of jobs that they can get. So that's a new piece, and also making sure that the participants understand all the barrier reduction support services available to them. And as far as the pre-enrollment referrals for documentation, academic prep, wraparound supports while they wait for enrollment and job placement for individuals who maybe don't need the training or decide they didn't want the training. And also something we're putting more emphasis on is a suitability analysis. And what that really means is we're seeking individuals who are not only eligible, but they're really ready to enter training. They are meeting their grade levels. They want to go into training and get a job. And we'll provide more information on that later too. And also employment engagement in coordination with and at the direction of the Workforce Hub. Next slide, please. And so the Workforce Hub's responsibilities are basically training. They will be responsible for administering any proficiency assessments to potentially test out. We will have this new CEJA core program that's replacing the bridge. And we're also moving towards industry cluster and career pathways training, which will also include work-based learning. And that was formerly called the job-specific training. And there will be a slide coming up that's going to show you what that looks like a little more. They'll continue to conduct employer partnerships and provide transition services, data management, documentation reporting. And again, we're shifting to more of a job seeker focus, which really what that means is making sure these individuals are suitable to complete the program. The curriculum, we're putting a very heavy focus on employer buy-in. So grantees must demonstrate hiring demand and employer commitments to interviewing and hiring these individuals. We have a broader industry training. Again, I've got a slide coming up that's going to show that. And we will be issuing soon, if it hasn't went out already, a new work-based learning policy as well. So also hubs are responsible for transition services. Next slide, please. The Climate Works pre-apprenticeship program, we don't have a lot of changes to that. Uh, they're still responsible for delivering pre-apprenticeship training in construction trades with a focus on clean energy. The pre-apprenticeship should incorporate all aspects of the CEJA core, and again, that's a new term we're using in place of the bridge. And that draft curriculum framework was sent out to everyone, just well, to our master list anyway. So if you haven't seen that, you can let us know. We can make sure you get that. It's still in a draft stage. And also, the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship will also be focusing on employer buy-in, meaning we need to see the evidence of employers that need this training and are expecting to hire. And also, we will continue to provide a work-based learning model. And navigators will continue to be the front door for this cycle two, doing outreach recruitment where the Climate Works grantee is located. We're in the same city. Next, okay. Post-award planning. This is something a little different that we're experimenting with, and we have not got this actual policy in place yet, but it will be forthcoming. So post-award, there are three activities that fall under the hub, which are core CEJA core competency delivery and case management and barrier reduction. That is a hub's responsibility. However, post-award, there can be some negotiation between the hub and the navigator to maybe deliver some of those services if everyone's in agreement. So again, we still have to flesh out exactly what that's going to look like, but that's the concept. And next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to go into a little bit more about the curriculum framework changes. Next slide, please. So the CEJA core competencies, this is the term we're using to replace what was the bridge, and it will be a little more robust. It's going to include the essential employability skills and hands-on learning. It'll be the first step in the CEJA training. So there will be orientations and any programming done as part of this orientation. The orientation should not be considered the CEJA training, is what I'm trying to say. So it's not eligible for stipends. Uh, it's it's an orientation to understand the program and to do some career exploration. And then the CEJA core is replacing that bridge. And again, we'll be providing more information on that too. It'll be more outlined in the NOFO. The new term cluster-based training will replace the job-specific training. And this is a new curriculum model. This is all outlined in that draft curriculum framework that is out there. And We will have available certain clusters that the grantees will be able to apply for. And again, it's really employer based. So it's going to be determined based on employer need in your region on which cluster you should be choosing. Next slide, please. This is an example of what this framework looks like in a graphic. So everyone will go through that CEJA core competencies training. Again, that's replacing the bridge. And then based on employer demand in your region, you'll be offering a minimum of two, what we used to refer to as job-specific training, but now we're referring to it as a career cluster. So you will choose the career cluster and you will choose the actual training under that cluster that you're going to deliver based on employer evidence. So career pathways training, this again falls under that diagram you just saw. So it will be a training that's a specific occupation in that cluster. So one cluster may offer several kinds of credentials. Maybe they're getting PBI. If they're in the construction cluster, they might be getting their PBI credential because they're going through energy auditing, or they may be getting the NCER credential. Grantees should provide illustration of what their career pathway will look like to show what a student, the steps a student may follow in their career pathway. And next slide, please. So some other important curriculum changes that are being outlined in that curriculum framework will be programs must be no longer than 1 year in length. And some occupations were not included in this revised framework. So EV technicians and wind technicians, and this is due to the low statewide demand, but it can be proposed using economic data. So if you do have a need for one of these occupations, and you can prove it, you have to provide proof, it would be considered. So applicants proposing training programs that are not detailed in the curriculum framework must detail the pathway. So again, if you haven't accessed that curriculum framework, it will be available to you as soon as all the edits have been made. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to pass this over to my colleague Larry Dawson, and he's going to finish out the presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this kickoff presentation. Again, my name is Larry Dawson. I'm the regional administrator for the Northern region, which encompasses Chicago and the surrounding Collar counties. So now you've heard a little bit about the key components of the CEJA workforce programs. And so now I want to try to pivot a bit to talk about some of the important information you need about the application process. First of which is timelines. Today's presentation was a bit of a kickoff to talk at a very high level about some changes to our plans for fiscal year 2027 and beyond. And we will be following this up with presentations in person, and you can see the time period here. And I've got another slide later to give more specific information about those sessions. But it will take place between August 20th and 27th. We're expecting the release of the notice of funding opportunity for the hubs, navigators, and ClimateWorks pre-apprenticeship grants in the mid to late September-ish time frame. So keep your eyes out for that. Also, following the outreach sessions, which the regional administrators will be providing, and the release of the NOFO. At that point, any further information will be handled further information dissemination will be handled in the bidders conferences, which will be all virtual webinars. Those will follow a couple of weeks after the NOFO is released. And then we have the general time frame for the merit review, which is effectively the receipt and review and scoring of applications. There are two parts to that process, which we'll be talking about in more detail in our upcoming workshops. But the merit review will determine who will actually be awarded the grants. And then once those final recommendations for awards are made, and the awardees are actually notified, as Michelle mentioned, there will be a post-award time period, which will be several months after the grantees are notified of that award for the various parties, the training grantees, outreach grantees, and the respective regional administrator to sit down and define roles across what we generally call the hub team. Then we expect after that process is completed, where all roles are defined and agreed upon, we're expecting for the cycle two, the next 3-year period of these grants to begin on July 1st. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so, as I mentioned, we're following up this kickoff with in-person NOFO workshops in all of the regions where we will have grants available. The first, well, not the first one, but in my region, in the northern region, we'll start with a session in Chicago on the 24th, on the 25th, in Waukegan, and the 27th in Aurora at the Aurora Public Library Centauri room. And then Central Region on August 20th at the Illinois State University Alumni Center, the 26th, Rock Valley College in Rockford. And in the Southern Region, also on August 20th, we will have a workshop at the Civic Center, and on the 27th in Collinsville at the Gateway Center. And so, again, today's presentation was really designed to give you a very high-level look, whereas we intend to go into much greater detail at these NOFO workshops. And it will also be, in addition to your opportunity to kind of hear more about the grants and the application opportunities, it'll also be a great opportunity for you to meet other people and organizations that you may choose to partner with on your application or applications. And as I alluded to, there's no organization that can do this work alone. Partnership is crucial to success in effectively delivering on these complex programs. And so we wanted to provide an in-person opportunity for organizations to meet and network and hopefully develop coalitions with which to apply for these grants. Next slide, please. So while you're waiting and waiting for the NOFO to be released and in effect getting ready, we want you to be thinking about, because the grant application will be asking for details and your understanding of the job opportunities in your local area and the type of job opportunities, particularly related to clean energy. And who are the major clean energy employers in your region? Are the majority of your employers smaller employers, larger employers? Are they essentially supply chain organizations? Are you heavier on manufacturing, or are you heavier on services? And so it'll be important to demonstrate in your application your understanding of the clean energy related job market and how you plan to use your CEJA grant to help job seekers in that area to be able to meet the needs of employers for clean energy work. And um, in addition to looking at the job market, it's important also to lean more into this topic that I mentioned in the last slide, partnership. One of the things we recognized very early on when implementing the CEJA program is there are a number of various partners already on the ground that we can utilize to meet our goals and theirs. And for instance, these are workforce development programs. We have an established workforce development network through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and our local LWIAs and American Job Centers are great resources for this program and for the CEJA programs rather. And so it's very important that we establish relationships between all CEJA grantees and the local WIOA network of workforce development providers to leverage the opportunities and leverage the resources across our various networks. Apprenticeship navigators, community colleges, other CBOs, for instance, when it comes to provision of social or supportive services, economic development agencies to get information about job opportunities and employers coming to your area, chambers and industry organizations to make sure that when it comes to placement, your organization, whether that be Hub or Navigator or ClimateWorks, is well in tune and has established relationships with the employers and industry in your region. Next slide. And also, my colleagues Nate and Michelle talked a bit about industry clusters and career pathways. And we recognize that per region and even per municipal area targeted by these grants, there are different employer type concentrations. And so it's really important for grantees to have a good understanding of the in-demand industries that are in your area and the career pathways to build your programming, your training around. And again, partnership is key. We require that each training grantee provide at least two industry related or two career two career occupational trainings, and those can be in two from the same career cluster or one from multiple. And so it's important to really know your region and what's available, know what kinds of credentials are required by the employers for the jobs that they have offered, as well as making connections with social service providers, which are a key component of the CEJA workforce programs, so that you can provide kind of a wraparound supportive opportunity for your participants to ensure that they're successful in both their training and ultimately job placement. And then finally, um, um, if you are a training grantee, um, designing your career cluster, whether you are planning to deliver multiple training material from multiple clusters or just one, ensuring that you have your planned training curricula identified and aligned with what's needed in your area. Next slide, please. And so we've made a lot of best practice learnings over the last 3 years, and we've synthesized those into various program policies while we are making some relatively significant changes to program design going into the next cycle. We thought that it could still be useful for folks who are considering applying for these grants to just review some of the policies that were issued over the last 3 years of program design. We don't anticipate wholesale changes in many of this, although there will be revisions. But if you'd like to get an idea on current thinking around topics like enrollment, barrier reduction, supportive services, property control requirements, stipend provision, testing out of certain components of the training, advanced training, transition policy, work-based learning policy, which is our newest policy published just this week. You can access that through the link here, and I hope one of my colleagues can drop that in the chat. And just to mention, this is current thinking. We anticipate that there will be revisions to some, if not all, of these policies between now and the start of the next program year and the next cycle. But if you'd like to get a preview of how we are handling these various topics currently, you can check there. Next slide, please. And along those same lines, we developed program manuals that gave more detail about our expectations for how the program services would be delivered by grant. And so here you've got links to the Workforce Hubs, Navigator, and ClimateWorks program manuals. Again, we anticipate that there will be some revisions to these as we go forward to accommodate some of the changes that we're making to program design. But those things would be places where you can get insights into current thinking. Next slide. Then into additional resources, and next slide. So here, the last several slides of today's presentation just represent resources that we like to make available to potential grantees in the next cycle. One of those is our potential partner list. Over the last several years, at each one of our outreach events and public community events, we have provided an opportunity for organizations interested in making others who are also interested aware that their organizations are available for partnership opportunities to join this potential partner list. I'll warn you in advance, it is a bit voluminous, but it does give you a very good overview of organizations that are interested in the CEJA programs in your area. And as you consider being an applicant and preparing your application, we encourage you strongly to consider the strong aspects of your organization and potentially looking at partnering with others who might be able to, together with your organization, provide the very best in resources, staffing, and organizational connection to the community to be successful in your application. And you can identify other organizations on this list, as well as get your organization added to it. And in the next slide, again, we wanted to provide links to be able to access contact information about these various other potential community partner organizations, like your local workforce development agencies, the OWIAs, like the community colleges, chambers, economic development agencies. So you have all that information at your fingertips. And again, we focused very heavily during this presentation about our priority with the CEJA workforce programs, which is getting people jobs. And so, how do you find out more about what jobs are available, which ones are in demand? And here we have a few links. The Illinois Clean Energy Regional Data Packets, which give a lot of demographic data, give you a lot of information about about business sizes and regional concentration of specific um, um, jobs or employment sectors that you can look at with employment numbers from, I believe, from the census. And you've also got our CEJA map, which is very important because it provides not just the current locations of grantees and the footprints that they've established in the first 3 years of CEJA, but also a number of employers that are identified as clean energy are there, as well as a number of other state and CEJA related grant program partners that are on the ground that you can utilize if you become an awardee in this next go round. And then finally, you can get a lot of information about the your area from data that's always already been collected in the WIOA regional plans, and you can access those with that link as well. And if you haven't heard us talk about employers enough, here we want to try to provide resources for you to help in your efforts to connect with employers. And we've got several links here, the Employer Engagement Playbook with essentially tips and tricks on how um, to sell participation in the CEJA programs to employers. Um, Clean Jobs Midwest links there, as well as other links for energy related employers. And finally, uh, one of the things that we think may be very helpful for folks is that throughout all of the CEJA implementation for CEJA workforce programs thus far, all of the orientation sessions, technical assistance sessions, training sessions regarding policy, procedure, also our client management system, the CEJA reporting system. All of those trainings were recorded and cataloged at the links you see, and there's detailed training on how effectively how we expect to see the CEJA program implemented, and you can get you can glean a lot of great insights from these trainings. And the last link there, the CEJA updates and program status. That page is dedicated to identifying which of the various CEJA programs have grant opportunities available, the timing for deadlines and applying, basic information about the programs, any um, any organizations that have been awarded any of the grants, all of and contact information. You can find all of that on the CEJA updates and program status page. And then finally, um, we recognize that while this is just a high-level overview, and we do have more detailed in-person NOFO workshops coming up in the coming 2 weeks, we also want you to know that we, the regional administrators, myself in the northern region, Nate Keener in the central region, and Michelle in the southern region, are available to answer questions and help you to make sense of how your organization can apply and hopefully be successful as a grantee in the CEJA program. So please take the opportunity to use us if you have questions. And you have here each one of our individual emails, as well as our group email box, ceo.ceja illinois.gov. And that is our presentation for today. And I noticed that there were some questions being asked in the chat, but now we can open it up for questions in general. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Larry. I think we've been keeping up with the questions in the chat, but if anybody has any follow-ups or clarifications to those or new questions, feel free to put them down in the chat or come off mute.
Hi,
Hi.
Leslie Millinson from Equiticity. I wanted to follow up on this issue of determining employer need at the time of making an application for example, the pre-apprenticeship program. I understand from the answer to the question I posed that it is at the application stage, the responsibility of the applicant. But do I understand that going forward, um, the kind of front door function will not necessarily be handled by the people delivering the training?
For employer engagement?
Yes.
So for employer engagement, I don't know that we would really call like describe the front door in the same way. So like when we're talking about participants, like people that we're actually going to train, I think that's what we're referring to at the front door because so that entails like the outreach and the recruitment, but also the intake and pre-assessment. So with employer engagement, I think that's more of a kind of a shared. Um, kind of a maybe a back and forth with the navigator in terms of outreach and kind of putting them in a shared Rolodex type of thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
So it's in essence a shared responsibility going forward.
Yeah, I mean, in the at the application stage, we'll want to see that, there are employers in your region who agree that that the training that the training provider is offering is relevant to their hiring needs and that they've got job demand in those areas. And then on an ongoing basis, I think that the navigator and the training provider will have kind of an ongoing role in identifying new employers to bring into the program.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Nate, there's also a couple of questions in the chat. One of the first ones was how can a partner be added to the interested partner list? Larry, I think you went over this bit.
Mm-hmm. I think oh, you know what? I think with that, were we accepting those through the team at U of I? I'm reaching out to Nate and Michelle to check me on that. Because I think that the method for that, and we can share that with this group in addition to this deck, but we can share the means for getting added to that group. I think that the team that manages that is one of our partners at the University of Illinois, and they actually add folks who are interested onto that list. I don't think that it's possible to do it from the website, but I think we have to send your contact information to them to get added. And we can
Yeah,
send you the process later.
yeah, we can provide some clarification in the follow-up email as well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And if worst case scenario, you just send one of us the contact and we'll make sure it gets there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Awesome.
I
Oh,
see
you go ahead, Nate.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, I see the question about setting up a meeting time with an RA, and we do just have to be careful about that. We will set up technical assistance hours for folks who have questions about the NOFO, and of course, we'll take questions here in this public forum, and then also in person at the workshops. We do just have to be careful about like how we answer specific NOFO questions, just because we want to make sure everybody in the state has access to those answers. And so, yeah, so depending on what it is that you're looking for, we may or may not be able to set up kind of a separate session. We may instead direct you to the like open technical assistance hours.
Yeah, and one thing is, as an addendum to that, is all, as Nate indicated, we want to ensure that a fair process for everybody, and so any communications that occur, and questions and answers will be effectively recorded and included in a frequently asked questions, or FAQ, for all potential applicants to view. Looks like there's a hand up. Hugo?
Thank you, Larry. Sorry for whatever reason I was having issues getting off mute. Question for clarification in regards to this change to managing the door with the energy transition navigators. Is it my understanding now that the energy navigators are going to be the ones automatically populating individuals to the CEJA hubs automatically, or is that the change as far as I'm understanding it, that all enrollment is happening through the navigators for the specific hubs?
I would say it's essentially yes. What the to be clear about the change, in the past, the outreach and recruitment function has been a shared function across navigators and training organizations. Going forward, starting July 1st of 2027, grantees for the workforce grantees will all have, well, I'm sorry, that function will be concentrated exclusively with the navigators. So the navigators will be responsible for not just outreach and recruitment, but screening and placement of applications with the training grantees.
So then that would mean that there needs to be stronger communication with the hubs in regards to their open enrollment sessions or their upcoming cohorts, in order for the navigators to be able to identify individuals and then put them into those open slots.
Absolutely. That's going to happen in at the outset in the post-award planning period, so that all parties in what I'd like to call the hub team, which includes the navigators and the hub, at the outset discussing what the training capacity will be for the year. And then in an ongoing fashion, as cohorts are developed at the hub level, the dates, the sizes of the classes, all of that will be discussed in an ongoing fashion between the training grantees and the navigators.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Looks like we have another question in the chat from Terrence Henry. Will the new change with the hub also be doing outreach, or will it just be the navigators?
In the upcoming cycle, starting July 1st of 2027, all outreach will be done by navigators exclusively.
Awesome, thank you. And it looks like Tara has their hand up as well, if we're good to take that question.
Go ahead.
My name is Tara Cole Brown. I am from the East St. Louis Workforce Hub. And my question is, I mean, I've kind of seen it in the chat, but not a real answer. So are the current hubs basically up for grabs, in that we have to reapply under this new structure, and that there is a possibility that the hub could go to a different awardee? That's what I would like to know.
Yes, every hub will be open for the cycle 2 funding cycle, and we will be accepting applications for all 14 regions, 16 hubs, and the award will be made to the organizations who score the highest in the merit review process.
Thank you.
I would also add, as you're thinking about your applications, this is Diana Fuller, by the way, that in addition to what Nate just said, if you're an existing CEJA grantee and you're thinking about reapplying, we will be looking at your performance and data for your performance review in cycle 1.
Thank you.
Other questions?
And then just to reiterate the conversation about the front door, that is largely mostly applying to the hubs, where we've got Climate Works grantees with training programs in the same city as a navigator who's doing services there. Strongly encourage that the navigator be the front door for those programs too. But we understand the Climate Works programs don't always have their satellite sites in the same places where the navigators are located. So understanding a little flexibility on that piece.
Mm-hmm. Great point, Nate. See another hand, Lisa Allegretto.
Hi, this is Lisa from 548. I have a question about building our coalitions. Are you expecting to see those coalitions built in the NOFO, as in we are coming up with our plan and applying as one coalition, or are you just expecting letters of support across applications to get an idea of where our coalition sits?
Well, I guess coalition can describe a couple of things. From an application coalition, what we mean is if there are partners who will be providing specific key functions of the grant, like, say, for instance, there's a particular partner who would be providing case management, or a partner who would be providing the training. Those key components of the grant, those partners have to be named partners, and there have to be MOUs in the attached with the application to demonstrate that you have these partners outlined. For community partners that you just collaborate with, like, say, for instance, understanding who the social service providers in your community are, who don't necessarily have to be on your application, but identifying that you're working with these other community partners, that just helps us to see in the application that you've effectively done your homework and that you know who the resources in the area that you plan to serve are, and that you've developed relationships with them. And so the most important thing, though, is for organizations that will be providing services as a coalition, we need to have a MOU attached with the application that talks about what those partners are planning to do and how they plan to provide those services. Does that
So
help?
Larry, it does. I just want to be sure. I want to mirror this back to you. So, for example, if you were going to partner for services with a specific navigator, that MOU would come as part of the NOFO.
So I can jump in on that piece if you want, Larry. Yeah, so because that was the piece I was waiting to jump in on anyways, was so for the purposes of submitting the application, right? Like I think it'd be great if the hubs identify a navigator partner they want to work with, but understanding that the navigator NOFO is a completely separate NOFO with completely separate funding from the hub. And so there's no guarantee that the navigator you apply with is the navigator who wins the award. And so the post-award planning process is kind of an acknowledgement of that fact that, like, okay, you're going to apply as a hub, for example, but the navigator is going to apply separately, and they may not have the same numbers. They may not be looking at the same numbers or programs. So that post-award planning process will be the opportunity to say, okay, awarded hub, awarded navigator, here's what you've both proposed, and now we need to make this one project, basically.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then our division manager Diana is reminding us that for the purposes of the NOFO, each grantee will have to explain how they will carry each fixed responsibility that's part of the NOFO. Also wanted to address those kind of assignments to be made as part of that post-award planning process. We want folks to address those as well. But definitely key features being those fixed responsibilities.
That makes sense. Thank
Nate or Michelle or Larry. So we have a wonderful navigator, and I don't know how this, assuming all things move forward in a similar fashion, the suitability question is, I feel like a little bit, I don't know, the hub personnel need to probably, I mean, I know we work really closely together, but the people doing the training often have definitely need to have a say in suitability. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a little concerned about, I don't feel too concerned for us because we work really well with our navigator. But it feels like something that really needs to be a joint, either process created together or decision or something like that. Does that make sense? It's not really a question. It's kind of a
No, that's the intention. Yep. So the navigator will be the one to kind of assess that, but based on what the hub needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe we're going to put together some basic guidance around suitability, and then that would be something that would be great in an MOU between you and your hub as well. I mean, between the navigator and the hub.
Michelle, this is Tara from the East St. Louis Hub again.
Hi, Tara.
So when it comes to and we have a meeting tomorrow anyway, but when it comes to an MOU with the hub, and as you guys are restructuring the hub and the navigator and then kind of having this pre-planning conversation, I've only been here, about almost 2 months now. But what I've noticed that has been hard is this understanding of roles, as well as the navigator understanding what actually happens at the hub. And in some instances, over-promising and under-delivering to clients and participants once they actually get to the hub. And so how do you anticipate working all those things out when we have two completely different organizations that may not mesh well, simply because of whether it's just the way they operate and do business? What is the plan to help negotiate that and really enforce an MOU that's not just something you would like, but something that's actually going to make the relationship stronger? Because what you're describing is a traditional sort of, community college aspect where you've got your recruitment, prospecting, application, admittance, and orientation, and then handing them off to, the rest of the college, which is where you get your training and assessment, and then you move on to, a job. But there's a large amount of coordination that happens. I've worked in higher ed at, multiple universities across states, and we don't have that here. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do you plan on making sure that there's that level of coordination that's going to work well for two organizations that may not know anything about each other or have any type of relationship?
So Tara, it's Michelle. So two different things. If you're needing help right now, because I know you're new, I'm happy to come and help facilitate some meetings between you and your current navigator. I'm doing that in other areas as well. So that's for now. And then for future, we do plan to give more guidance around what a good MOU looks like, and even the next cycle after the hub and navigator are selected, I'm happy to help coordinate or facilitate that discussion with you all. So I don't know if Nate or Larry have anything they want to add to that
This is
question.
Diana. I'll jump in. Yeah, we will have, each RA will have time in that post-negotiation phase to work with both the navigator and the hub that have been awarded, as Nate said earlier. In cases where there are partners that cannot agree, then DCEO will make the decision on who's going to work and do the assignments based on the information that we have for that organization.
You both, and Michelle, like I said, we have a meeting tomorrow, so we can discuss more.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we've gotten a lot of really great questions, and I know there might still be some more, but we do have those in-person NOFO workshops. If you guys want to head out to those, again, those dates have been up on that screen, and I'm sure we're going to get those back out to you. But unfortunately, today we are out of time, and we really appreciate you guys coming out. And do we have anything else, Nate, Michelle, Larry, Diana, that we want to share before we head on out?
We hope to see you at the NOFO workshops.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much.
Nothing else from me.
Thank you guys for coming on out. Outside of that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and wonderful rest of your week. We hope to see you at those NOFO workshops.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.